let us know how the audio is. Oh, I see Scott on Facebook saying hello, friend. Wait, I think we're also live on YouTube now. Can YouTube people let us know how the audio, if you could hear us, how the audio is. Ali, can you confirm if we're live on YouTube?
Um,
Let me just check myself. Stream health. I think we're live on YouTube as well.
it looks like we are.
Okay, good. Yes, we are. Perfect. I think our audio is good as well. Okay, let's just get started. First news.
Okay. All right. I just want to let everybody know that my audio, my internet connection is not great, so my audio might skip a little, and I might have to repeat myself. So just hang in there with us today.
Oh,
Out of France.
No, wait. Before you also start with the first news, I just want to remind people that, again, every week I have to remind people that YouTube and Facebook really hate Atheist Republic. They don't like us. They don't like the news that we cover. You're going to see today that the news that we cover is very sensitive topics, very stuff that is controversial, stuff that YouTube and Facebook don't really like having on their platform, but they just tolerate us. But they make it very difficult for us to grow, especially on YouTube. The algorithm is very much work against us. Facebook has also turned against us. So it's really difficult they're trying to hide us from the people that follow us, people that want to see our content. Facebook and YouTube are like, no, we decide that they don't get to see you in their feed. So please subscribe to our newsletter. Where the link is in the description, so that we could actually reach you, the people that do want content from us. We're gonna have just send it to your inbox. So to make sure that we'll pick the most important stuff, the most interesting stuff, and we'll send it to your inbox. That's the best way for us to be in touch with you. So the link is in the description. Subscribe to our newsletter. Anyways, first news.
Yes, thank you, Armin. First news out of France. Teen kills pedophile priest by ramming a crucifix down his throat. The body of a 91-year-old priest was found with his body looking like it had been tortured with a crucifix stuck all the way down his throat. He had been dead for some time. The youth, who's a 19-year-old, who was the main suspect, was found driving around in this priest's car. They apprehended him and took him straight to a psychiatric hospital, where later it was found out that this priest, who was forcing this 19-year-old boy to clean his house nude, and had been sexually abusing and assaulting him for a long time, had also abused and sexually abused his father. Okay, and so when his father was a child, and he told his father about this news, he killed himself. So it looks like a child, a father, and a grandfather who killed himself upon hearing the news that his son was sexually molested. 3 generations here of people have been affected by this priest, who has been formally accused of assaulting at least 4 boys between the years of 1960 and 2000. However, they believe that there's actually dozens of victims from this priest who's found dead.
So let me get this straight. There's 3 generations, right? So the son, the man in the middle, he told his father that he was molested, and the father heard about this and he killed himself. The grandfather of the child that we're talking about today, the teen that we're talking about today, right? And now the person that was molested, now his son was molested by the same priest, right? And this teen, this last son, decided to end this misery by torturing the priest. Torturing, right?
And the body, they believe that the body was tortured before.
Torturing him and then killing him by shoving a crucifix down his throat. I have so many questions. First of all, how did he get away if somebody was molested and willing to come out, and how did he get away to be able to molest the second person? I mean, apparently more people after he molested his father.
Right. That was a question that I had. I went looking for more answers because I'm not trying to blame the father here. I'm not trying to put blame on anyone. It's just a question that popped in my mind was,
Right.
how could you be abused by a priest and then be like, here, priest, here's my child? So I don't know exactly how this came to be. Perhaps the dad didn't even know that his son was anywhere around this priest. We don't know for sure. So, before anybody definitely says, wow, what a terrible father for just handing him over, maybe the dad didn't even know that his son was in association with this priest.
No, my question was more from a legal perspective. How was he not arrested? Yeah.
Yes. So get this. This priest, who is now dead, was supposed to be removed from his post as being a priest, according to papers that were filed in the church. However, due to an error, he continued to be a priest, as they say that people in the religious, the Vatican, kept pushing off and just pushing off all the allegations against this guy. So because they kept pushing off the allegations as they came rolling in, he was able to just continue doing his job, even though he wasn't supposed to be there.
If this doesn't turn into this is like movie material, isn't it? Like, this is something you think somebody, if this was in a novel, like fiction, you would be like, wow, yeah, this is so far-fetched. At least try to make it like real life. Like, this is so unbelievable, isn't it? It's crazy.
It is.
But so a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, good job, team, great job, he deserved it. I don't condone vigilante justice, and, I don't condone violence in response to anything, right? I know a lot of people here in the live chat and everywhere else are going to hate me for saying this because they feel like if anybody deserves it, it's a child molester, right? But no, I mean, that's why we have a justice system to do this, that's what I think. At the same time, even though I don't condone it, I'm not going to blame the teen who did this. I know that sounds contradictory, but it isn't, because it's easy for somebody like me that hasn't been through the hell that this guy has been in to sit back and be like, well, we have a justice system and I don't condone this. Like, I don't know how I would behave if I was in the mental state that this guy was in, right? So while I don't blame the teen for like doing this, I don't also condone it. I do think this is not the way to respond to.
I'm glad that you say that, though, because there's a huge difference between, saying that nobody should be killed like this and then therefore not understanding why anyone would kill like this. So you're saying you don't condone it, but you understand how someone can be driven to the point of doing it.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Basically, yeah. So, and I think a lot of people, who have been in this teen's shoes might understand it. And like I said before, guys, because we don't have the details surrounding how this whole entire story came to be, it could have been that maybe the dad found out he was working for this priest and said, oh my goodness, that priest? Did you know that's the priest that molested me as a little boy, and your grandfather killed himself over it, and it's ruined our entire lives? And maybe the boy snapped and maybe he went and killed him. We don't know. We don't know the story around it. So, I agree with Armin. I don't believe that vigilante justice is ever good, because it puts a huge stain on any justice system. Right. We have to trust in our justice system, and it does fail, but more often than that, it works. And
well, I mean, we don't have to trust it. If it's not working, we have to fix it. Either it's good, or it needs fixing. But what we don't do, we don't take the law in our own hands.
Right. But what I mean by that, what I mean by we have to trust it is we do trust in the fact that it's there, and we can't just run around saying, this person hurt me, I get to kill them now.
Right.
We have to turn things over to the justice. And every justice system is broken. I mean, I'll tell you that right now. And one person can't fix it. It definitely will take a lot more of people coming out and showing how the justice system doesn't work. But that's the argument that we'll see here from people saying, oh, this boy absolutely should have killed the priest. Look at how all these priests are protected and blah, blah, blah. So there's credibility to what they're saying, but it's not the point.
Right. And again, if people say, well, this guy deserves it, the whole point of the justice system is to protect people, not to not for revenge purposes. You know, the point of the justice system is not to satisfy our desire for retribution. That's not what the justice system is supposed to do. The justice system is supposed to be there to do whatever it needs to do to protect people from crime. That's, you know, and whatever the studies and data shows the best method is, that's what we should follow. And again, it's very hard to say that to somebody that has been a victim of any crime, because, but the problem, the different, but, and I understand why somebody that is a victim of a crime would want a different outcome from the justice system, but again, I expect more. So, for example, if you capture an ISIS member and they are unarmed, and they're captured, you can't just kill them and torture them, right? They need to go I think they need to go and have a trial or something, even though they're ISIS members. But if you're like a mother of somebody that has been of a child that has been killed by ISIS, you're going to be like, no, what the hell? Burn this guy alive right now. I don't care that he doesn't have a gun. I don't care that he's in handcuff. These people are animals. Burn them alive, right? And I understand why a mother of somebody that has been killed by ISIS would say something like that, but and I don't blame her for thinking like that. But I expect differently from a government, right? A government and justice system has to. I expect more from them than somebody that has been emotionally, you know, gone through hell. But again, we don't come up with policies and the best way to run society based on people that have been emotionally hurt by something, right? Because then that, you know, you go by logic, not by emotion. Anyways, let me see what the top comment is. Wait, Shopam, did you have anything to say?
Yeah, so like in the live chat, GB was asking if it is really justice if the priest has stayed a few years in prison instead. So I think what he means to say is like if the priest went to prison just for like a few years, molesting like affecting 3 generations of family isn't like that small a crime that you need to spend just a few years. So that wouldn't have been justice, but like we know that the system is broken. And GB, I'm from the same country as you. I know how broken the system is, but that doesn't make me condone any kind of vigilante justice either.
Right.
It's still,
yeah.
I still cannot condone the vigilante justice, even if it's like that.
Yeah. Yeah, go on. Sorry. No, you go.
Armin.
No, you go.
Okay. Is it really justice for all of his victims that this guy was tortured and you know, brutally murdered in the end? Is there ever really any justice when a child's innocence is taken this way? I don't believe that there's ever any justice at all. So regardless of if he's been a few years in jail or tortured and murdered the way he was, justice will never truly be given. But that's not the point. The point here is that we do go through the court system. We do have due process. And that is important. You know, sometimes, so much as for a victim, just hearing somebody say, you know what, actually I did do this to them, can be more therapeutic and healing than years in prison and them denying it all the time. So justice is subjective for every victim that's involved. And that's why vigilante justice isn't true justice either.
So the penalty should be whatever data and science shows that it will reduce the crime for happening again, based on data, not based on our feelings, right? And whatever separates somebody that is harmful to society from society, as long as they are harmful to society. Again, I don't have the answer to that because I'm not an expertise in criminal, how criminals' minds work and all of that. But the answer shouldn't be based on me and you, and the people in the live chat, based on our just like sit down and be like, well, I think this should happen to criminals. Well, based on what data, right? So I just think like these things, it's good to say like, I don't know what the answer is, but it has to be data driven. The top comment is the top comment that is not a GIF or a GIF, I don't know, is by Steven. Is saying the church should stay, thank you, and buy the kid a house. Junior is saying, sure, he loves ramming Okay, so Junior is talking about the priest. It's a joke, saying, sure, he loves ramming long, hard things down his throat, but a crucifix wasn't exactly what he had in mind. Another, the last top comment, that is not a picture or something, is by somebody that I can't pronounce her name, saying 19-year-old. So he or she is fixing the title for us, and saying 19-year-old hero inflicts Old Testament style justice. Anyways, let's go. Let me see. Is there anything that we missed in the live chat? Okay, let's go to the next news.
Next news out of the USA, Christian writer says we are sexualizing children by letting them be transgender. John Stonestreet writes for the Christian Post, and he is notorious for hating a lot of things that isn't newsworthy. But lately, he's been slamming the transgender community, and he went off on a huge tirade about gender dysphoria of little boys and girls, equating gender dysphoria to trans, which is incorrect. And he says that, and quote, I mean, imposing a radical new experimental ideas about sex and gender on children who had no say in the matter has proven to be the means of sexualizing them. And so here's what a lot of people think about this, is the Christian religion has no leg to stand on when it talks about sexualizing children. I, coming from a fundamental Christian background, had to marry Jesus Christ in front of my friends at a weekend retreat, and pledge that I would stay pure for Jesus until I got married. Jesus would hand me over to my husband so that I could get married and become impure. My whole life revolved around sex and purity. The sexualization of children and then the Christian religion is insane. For this guy to turn around and just say, oh, letting kids be transgender is sexualizing them too much, I find it mind-boggling. How about you guys?
Well, isn't that whataboutism? Sorry, I had to. No, but what do you think about the claim that how do you respond to them, like saying letting kids be transgender is sexualizing children?
Here's the deal. Here's the deal with arguing claims like that, is that claim has no merit. It's just an opinion. So how do you argue a wrong opinion, a bad opinion that somebody holds that isn't based on science? He's over here thinking that gender dysphoria is trans. That's incorrect. You can point out that's incorrect. With facts and textbooks, it doesn't matter to him, right? He holds a belief that he holds, and he's going to hold it no matter what facts are thrown at him. So he sees that. He thinks that children are getting hormones, which again is normally untrue. Most children are giving hormone blockers, okay, which postpones their hormones from, it makes it a lot easier in their adulthood to transition. So a lot of what this guy has to say is just wrong. So how do you argue something that's just wrong?
Here's I'm going to say something that it might be controversial, but just give me a few seconds and I'll explain it, okay? I agree with him. This might be sexualizing children. But you know what else is sexualizing children? Saying that they're straight. If you have when I found out that I'm attracted to girls, I was around 4 years old, okay? So I didn't know gay and straight was a thing at that time, but you could say that was a time that I discovered, if I knew gay or straight was a thing, that was the time that I realized I'm straight, okay? Which is, and if you say like, oh, Armin is attracted to girls, so he's 4, so he's straight. Well, that's about my sexuality as a 4-year-old boy, which is, it's not extreme sexualization. It's just slightly, that's my sexuality. That's my sexual orientation. It's not like they're saying it as if it's something. Sexualizing could be as something extremely mild to something extremely disgusting and not appropriate for children. But like if a 10-year-old child realizes that he or she is gay, and you as an adult parent acknowledge that, you're talking about their sexuality, their sexual, which is fine. I mean, it's not sexualizing. I don't know if I'm using the word sexualizing correct in this context, but if that's what you mean, but he's using it, this writer is using it in that context that I'm using it. But if you use the word sexualize in the context that this writer is using that, then yes, you are right, and there's no problem with it. Do you know what I mean, Ellie?
No, I do know what you mean. So you're saying that it sexualizes children. I still disagree with that because, again, but here's why. Okay, and this is what I think is good reason for everyone to discuss this, is we have to understand, we have to both agree on what sexualizing children means.
Right.
Okay, because technically from the second a child is born and you say, you are a boy,
right,
you are a girl, aren't you technically sexualizing children?
Right.
So we have to agree on what sexualizing them means. And what I interpret this Christian writer, and by the way, that's the only reason why I brought up Christianity. I wasn't doing a whataboutism. He's a Christian Post writer, and I'm talking about Christianity. But the reason why we need to really understand what he means by sexualizing is that he is talking about this in a romanticizing sexual kind of a way,
but
but
that would be the same thing about saying somebody is cis. Like if you say a child is trans, if that's sexualizing them, so if the same Christian writer, if he says my child is not transgender, by his own standard, he's sexualizing his children. When you say my children are not transgender, right?
Well, we have to understand are we talking about sexualizing based on the definition of what is sex in the dictionary, or are we talking about sexualizing them as in romantic sexual nature? There's a few different ways that I think we can interpret what he means by sexualizing them. And I think he's talking about this in a kind of romantic, like we're forcing children into thinking about sex more. We're forcing children into, this kind of a romantic idea of who they want to have sex with because of what their sex is.
No, because he's saying he's like, if you look at the title, he's not saying that we're making them be transgender. He's saying we're letting them be transgender, right? So then if then we're not forcing anything on them based on his own wording, right? So
very true.
So based on his context, based on the context that he's using, if we let them be cis as well, like if we let them not be transgender, that's also sexualizing them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So okay, fine. Then you're also like, I'm gonna go right back at you, Christian, right there. You're also sexualizing children when you say they're not transgender. Right.
Yeah, if that, and that's why he really needs to watch his words and what he means by everything, because if we're taking this as sexualizing, then we've done that since the start of eternity, when we started saying, this genitalia is different from this genitalia, therefore you are going to be this way, you're going to be that way. We've been doing that since the dawn of time. We've been sexualizing children, depending on how he's trying to use this. It's ridiculous. This guy.
See, these people are just sensitive about the things that they find disgusting, right? Because, like, if you like give these children like some kid stories about like a gay couple or something, right? They're gonna be like, "Oh, why are you introducing sexuality to our children? They're too young for this," right? It's like you're not showing them gay porn, right? You're showing the same thing. Like, where were you when Sleeping Beauty, like when the prince was kissing the princess? That's like, we're not telling children that they're having sex. They just kid stories from all times. They had, like, they're just kissing or they got married, right? So that's the level of sexuality that kids have always been exposed to in their stories, right? Now, like, look, now it's a prince and a prince. So why that is also now why that is problematic now? When there was prince and princess, that wasn't problematic. That was like, yeah, this is just a romantic story. So you're like, oh, kids are too young for this. well, they weren't too young for prince and princess. Why are they all of a sudden too young for a prince and a prince? Or like, oh, now we have a prince that thinks that maybe he's not a prince, maybe he's a princess. So what's so confused? In fact, you know what? They're not confused. You're like, oh, why do we have to confuse kids with all these stuff? They're not.
Kids aren't confused.
They're not confused. They're confused by you. Okay, because you confuse them by not introducing them to this stuff, and they grow up not being exposed to the real world, and all of a sudden they see things that they're not used to, and like then they're confused. If you show them, if you actually show them these things, and we're like, hey, some people are like this, and some people are like that, then we're like, oh, they're like, oh, okay, and when they grow, they see things that they were introduced to as children, and they're not confused. You're confusing them. Introducing them to these concepts as a child helps them not be confused.
I think I might have a better example.
Okay.
Like sexualizing, introducing kids to sex and stuff starts when your parents tell you that one is a mom and another one is a dad. Like why? Why is one a mom and another a dad? Why not? Why can't they both be just parents? Or why can't it be the other way around?
Well, you're sexualizing them, Chopin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this
Also, I had a problem with the wording here, like with the Christian writer letting them be transgender. You don't let anyone be transgender. You just can let them express themselves. They are trans or cis or however they want to identify. That's them. You cannot let them be that.
Right. So the top comment is by Apollo. Awesome name. He is saying, yes, because telling girls from the age of 10 or 11 that they are responsible for the sexual purity of both themselves and the men around them is sexualizing or isn't sexualizing or humiliating at all. So Apollo is making the point that Ali made. Chris is saying, I find it amazing that the only kids who are interested in it are the ones who are heavily influenced by their parents or situations. So Chris is actually on the other side of this. Chris is saying that I don't know that the kids that find that they're transgender seem to be from parents that are very heavily influenced by this. Well,
I love it when people make these claims without posting any research about that.
Right.
I would like to know of all the people in the 50s, 60s, and 70s that came out as trans. I would like to know how their parents encouraged them back then to do it. I just people think of what's going on now in social media and what they see and what they hear, and they think that what they see is fact. And I just completely disagree.
It seems like a lot of people think that like being trans is like a new thing. Like if they had if they studied history or literature, ancient literature, they would know that this is a thing that has been in our society for like since we have ever been. Like this is not something new. And also, here's the thing: even if you, Chris, like if you have data, you have to be careful because what it might show, you have to adjust for this to make Chris's claim. Like Chris is saying, maybe the kids are realizing that they're transgender, not because they're trans, but because their parents are trying to push them in that way. But maybe it's the other way around. Maybe that in an accepting family, more kids are free to question their gender identity and sooner realize that they're trans than other environments. You know what I mean?
Right.
So maybe
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like. Like I said, I recently came out and people were like at me like, oh, you're just trying to be trendy and you're trying to be cool and everything just by showing that you are trans or gender fluid and stuff like that. They were saying me those stuff. And I was like, no, you guys are ridiculing me. You guys are demonizing me. My parents won't probably accept me in the house. I don't know what will happen to me. So you think I'm doing this just for being cool and trendy?
Well, yeah, Shurpam, you need to provide some context. You came out as trans.
I came out last Sunday.
Last Sunday. So so before our last show, you weren't openly trans. Now you're openly trans, right?
To most people, except my family.
Except
to
your
everyone
family.
Except my family.
Well, congratulations for coming out.
Yes,
Thank you.
congratulations, Shubham.
Yeah, that's nice. All right, so yeah, actually, we should have opened with that. So yeah, congratulations on that. And your family, you're not gonna come out to them. They're not.
I will, but I'm just taking my time. My uncle, okay, one member my uncle knows,
Uh,
and he's supportive, so that's good.
Good, good. But you don't think your family is gonna be supportive?
Yeah, I don't think my parents are gonna be very supportive. Like, I will need to, I'll need to talk to them. I'll have to let my uncle talk to them, and maybe psychiatrists and stuff. I don't know,
Okay.
but they won't be supportive in the beginning. But
Okay.
I just wanted to say this. Like, there were people like classmates, my school college mates. They were like sending me texts like, "Oh, you're just trying to be cool. You're just trying to get close to girls and stuff." Like, what
Close.
the have been girls, and that's why they're thinking like you just want to get close to girls. I'm like, what the hell do you mean?
Mm.
I just don't understand like that. Like, I cannot.
By the way,
Like,
a lot of people in the
yeah.
Facebook and YouTube live chat are saying congratulations, Shipam. So,
Thank you, everyone.
that's sweet. All right, thank you guys for the support. Okay, let's go to. Hold on, let me bring it up. Oh no, this one. Okay, next news.
Yes, next news out of Baghdad. U.S. airstrike kills top Iranian general Soleimani at Baghdad airport. Okay, so United States killed a high-profile commander of Iran's secret, is it Quds Force, Armin?
Quds.
Quds Force, okay, with a drone strike in Iraq early on Friday, and they killed a high commander, Soleimani, Qassim Suleimani.
Qassim Suleimani. Yeah.
Thank you. At the direction of the president, the U.S. military has taken decisive defensive action to protect the U.S. personnel abroad, said in a statement announcing the death of Soleimani, the commander of Iranian's military forces in Iraq. So, yeah, Armin, I know that you're probably dying to tell us more about this. Tell us what
you said you asked something, but before we went live, I think because I don't know where to start with this because there's so many moving parts to the story. So maybe we'll just start with your question. Maybe that would be a good way to give us
I mean,
direction.
we got a super chat from Angel Rose,
Thank you,
and
Angel.
thank you, Angel, for congratulating me as well.
Thank you, Angel. You're very
Thank
sweet.
you, Angel. Oh, that's so sweet, Shubham. Armin and I have been discussing this for the greater part of a year now, and we're still in separate camps. But what I asked you before the show, Armin, was, do you think this was part of Trump's plan to start war with Iran?
No, but you think it is.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
yes, I thoroughly think it is, and I thoroughly think it is because I want to add some more context to this news that's been coming up lately. Back in 2013, President Trump accused then he wasn't President Trump, but Trump accused President Obama of wanting to start war with Iran. And he said several tweets that he was trying to start the war so that he could win the re-election. Mark my words, we're going to war with Iran. He's going to start the war with Iran so he can win the re-election. And I feel like we're here. And I feel like I've been saying this for a year, seeing these tweets come out. Some more news that I definitely am not trying to say this is why, Trump killed Soleimani, but some news that just came out from Washington Post was that Soleimani and Trump have been quarreling on Twitter and Instagram since 2018.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
Yeah, this could be on for a while. I mean, first of all, about the news, about the so Qassim Suleimani is the head of the Quds Force, which is part of the most famous part of the IRGC. I don't know how to tell people how important this guy was, right? This is after Khamenei, which is the supreme religious leader in Iran. This guy was the most influential person in the entire country, okay? And I know some people might disagree, but some people argue that as well. Like, people might think like, oh, the president will obviously, after the supreme leader, the president is the most important guy. No, the president is just a pawn. This guy has more influence over Iran's foreign policy and a lot of other things. So he was the supreme leader's sword, but he was also not just an executor, he was a planner. He was turned into a national figure, and among Iranians themselves, he was either loved or hated. And there's no middle ground. There's not that many people that were in the middle, right? And whether, what percentage of the Iranian people absolutely adored him and what percentage of Iranian people absolutely hated him, there's anybody that tells you, oh, which side is more, or these are their statistics. They're talking out of their what, because there is no reliable statistics on this. So don't let anybody speak for the Iranian people on their behalf, because nobody has reliable numbers on these, right? But this is taking out this guy is not just like taking out, like, yeah, people say this is the top general, but he was way more than this, the top general. Like, I don't know, it's really hard to underestimate how significant this is. The killing of this guy is way more significant than killing bin Laden or Baghdadi, okay? When bin Laden was killed, Al-Qaeda was at its weakest point, okay? When Baghdadi was killed, ISIS was at its weakest point. Like, maybe when bin Laden was killed, Al-Qaeda was weaker than many years before it, and when Baghdadi was killed, ISIS was weaker than many years before it. But, and the difference is that this guy is like part of a head figure in a country, in an official recognized country, okay? Those bin Laden and Baghdadi, they were just part of a terrorist group. I mean, arguably this guy was also terrorist, but this is this guy is a statesman, right? Like, this is a general of a country, right? So it's very different. It's technically going to war with the country, like maybe not in direct war, but it's kind of a declaration of a war. And also the IRGC, which is Iran's more religious military compared to Artesh, which is another branch of the Iran's military, it's not at its weakest point. This Iran's military and influence in the region, it's at its strongest it has ever been since the past 40 years, right? So this is you're going out and taking a leader of a movement. This is not just a country. This is spreading the 12-verse Shia Velayat Faqih version of Islam as a Shia crescent, as a Shia empire, not just in Iran, but beyond Iran's border. What they call it in Iran is exporting the Islamic revolution to Lebanon, to Iraq, to Syria, to Bahrain, to Yemen. This basically, Iran is trying to create a Shia empire in that region. And this guy was the head of doing that, right? This guy was, I don't know, what Pompeo and Bolton and the head of the CIA and all of those combined in one person. Like, that whole spreading of the Shia empire in the Middle East, this guy was it, okay? This guy had defeated more ISIS, killed more ISIS members and defeated many more battles and stopped the Kurds from getting independence in Iraq, and his proxy groups have killed so many Sunni civilians. Like, this guy is responsible for so much. Taking this guy out is an absolute game changer in the whole region, okay? So the thing is, though, yes, this might escalate things to a situation like that we can't, I don't even know, like people that are predicting what's going to happen next, they're also talking out of their, because it's really hard to predict right now. There's too many moving parts. The common consensus seems to be that Iran will answer, but what that answer is going to be like is anybody's guess. But the thing is that the answer that comes from, again, I shouldn't say Iran. I should say, every time I say Iran, some people like, look, this is the Islamic Republic. Don't put the Iranian people in the same group as their government. So I have to say Islamic Republic. I shouldn't say Iran. So the way that Islamic Republic will retaliate is anyone's guess. But we have to understand where this started. The reason why I say that this might not be the reason to start a war is because you have to just I don't know, it was last week? I think it was last week. So Iran and before I tell you about what happened last week, Iran and United States have been, bothering each other in after the, when ISIS was in power, Iran and United States were working with each other, like not directly, but they kind of had like an understanding that they're both there to defeat ISIS, right? But the more ISIS got weaker and weaker, then now it was that now both of them were trying to gain more influence in Syria and Iraq, and now they were competitors in that area, and they started taking more positions against each other. They always took positions against each other, but it became stronger and stronger, especially after the nuclear deal was scrapped by Trump. Everything got more hostile, but they never got into conflict with each other directly, right? Iran always used its proxies to attack United States interests around the area. And the understanding was that the hidden understanding was that United States will not go to conflict with Iran as long as it's not Iran itself, as long as it's Iranian proxies in the region, right? Because neither Iran or United States neither Islamic Republic or the U.S. government want to go to a direct war with each other, right? But they also don't want to let each other get away with stuff. So the Iranian, the Islamic Republic's understanding was that, okay, we use our proxies and United States is not going to come to war with us, and they use their resources they have, and we'll just get away with this. They both didn't want to drag each other into an all-out war. But what happened last week was a contractor of United States, a citizen of United States that was a contractor in the area, was killed by one of the proxy groups of Iran. I shouldn't say Iran, but of the Islamic Republic. And the United States responded to that by taking out a whole bunch of leaders of another proxy group of Iran in the region, right? And then the Islamic Republic of Iran responded to that by something that escalated things to the whole new level. Okay, this was a whole new level of escalation by the Islamic Republic. The Islamic Republic's proxy group went and surrounded and almost took over the United States Embassy in Baghdad. And this was, again, it's hard to underestimate how significant this is. You have to understand, United States Embassy in any country is part of U.S. soil, right? And the Baghdad Embassy, U.S. Embassy, is one of the most secured embassies in the world. No, it's not one of the most. It is the most secured embassy in the world. Even among United States embassies, this was the most secure, but it was mostly security by Iraqi personnel. But when Iranian proxy, when Islamic Republic's proxy groups went in to protest the killing of these leaders, all the security was just letting them in, which really showed how much control the Iranian government has over the Iraqi government. Like, a lot of times we said this, but people thought we were exaggerating how much the influence is. But the fact that these people just walked in, I can tell you, like, the level of security there is so high, nothing could get in and out. Like, this was insane. Like, United States, like, personnel, like that worked in the embassy, they probably felt more safe in Baghdad, in Iraq, than back home in Washington. That's how secure it was. But all of a sudden, one day, all the security is like just door open. All of these people, protesters working, like them. You know how terrifying that is for the people that are working there. That just they felt like they had absolute security, and all of a sudden they see these people right at the other side of a glass. There was at one point that the only thing separating them was a glass. So that's how crazy it was. And this, I criticize Trump as much as everybody. I don't like Trump, okay? But this could not have gone unanswered. Honestly, the fact that the Islamic Republic of Iran has done so many, has taken so many, made so many moves against United States interests around the area, and the fact that they have, a lot of them have went unanswered, made United States look very weak, right? And the Iranian government boasted about that. Like, look, these people won't do anything because they can't do anything, right? And if this last one, if going and attacking the embassy, if this went unanswered, it would have looked really, really weak, right? So it's really easy right now to criticize. Again, I think I criticize Trump for a lot of other things, but this was a very difficult decision, because if you answer, it has to be a strong answer, because your embassy was attacked, okay? This was very much like what happened 40 years, like it's not much like that, but it reminded people of what happened to United States Embassy in Tehran 40 years ago, right after the Islamic Revolution. And also reminded more people that don't know much about that, it reminded a lot of people about what happened to United States Embassy in Libya, right? And how much also Trump criticized Clinton for letting the for letting an embassy be unprotected. So, and the answer had to be strong, but the answer couldn't be too strong. It couldn't be a full-on attack, because that would escalate things to a war. But it's hard to find the balance. They had to find something that really, really hurts, but doesn't hurt enough to force the Islamic Republic of Iran's hands to go into a war, right? And finding that balance is really difficult, all right? So again, well, Ali said like, oh, Trump did this to go to war. Honestly, attacking the embassy was all the excuse that you need to go to war with Iran. That's all the excuse. You could be like, if Trump really wanted an excuse to go to war with Iran, he could be like, look, they attacked our embassy. What the hell do you want, right? They could be like, we could attack them tomorrow now, right? But again, Trump has a problem with his base. Don't want him to go to war. He's not going to get reelected if he goes to war. His base is different from other Republican bases. But his base also, and the other half of his base, don't want him to look like he just takes it. Iran's government could just go like, oh, we attacked your embassy, we took out this ship, we did this, we did that, and like, yeah, nothing happens, right? So he needed to have like a strong answer, but not strong enough to go out, like not a direct attack. Again, this was not an attack on Iranian soil. Soleimani was in Baghdad. But this could still backfire on Trump, because even though this was a hard decision, a lot of his own base hates the fact that he did this. They think that this is too much intervention, right? So might backfire on Trump. It might not backfire on Trump, right? Another way that this could backfire on Trump is that this could really let the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Iranian government, again, I'm just not trying to not just say Iran, because I'm not trying to just include all the people. The Islamic Republic might be able to now force the hand of the Iraqi government to remove any remaining permission of U.S. U.S. influence in Iraq, right? So remember, again, this was I have a lot of criticism against Obama, but one unfair criticism against Obama was that, oh, he just left Iraq. Well, when the Iranian government convinced the Iraqi government to remove the permission from Obama to stay in Iraq, Obama didn't have any choice, right, but to leave Iraq. And again, now, with this, because this attack was not just on Soleimani, he was with Iraqi citizens. Iraqi citizens were taken out. Iraqi citizens were killed by U.S. forces in Iraq without the permission of Iraqi government, which they pretend that it's their ally, right? Which is Iraqi government. It's not an ally of the United States. It's an ally of the Iranian government, right? So these attacks on Iraqi citizens might give the advantage to the Iranian government to convince the Iraqi government to remove any remaining influences the United States has in Iraq, and basically open the entire door for Iran's government to make Iraq their own playground, right? So the interesting thing is that in this conversation, sorry, I'm going to end this very fast. I've gone too far. Is that one missing piece of this conversation that everybody keeps ignoring is the Iraqi people. Like this, we're talking about all of this is happening in Iraq, but it's happening between Iran's government and U.S. government, and they just have made Iraq their chessboard without any say of the Iraqi people. Like Iraqi people, like some of them do, and more of them should be like, this is not. Get out, both of you, get out of here. Like, what the hell is happening? This is our country. Like, it's very interesting because we have all kinds of Iraqi people. We have Iraqi people that are support Iran, Iran's government, are against the U.S. government. We have Iraqi people that support U.S. government. They're against Iranian influence. And we have Iraqi people that are saying, both of you, get out of here. Like, this is why is our politics, why are the people that rule over us are being chosen by United States officials and Iranian officials, and why don't we have more of a say on who's running our country? Which I think those are the more of the people that should have more of a say. Anyway, sorry, I went for too long. I have a lot more to say. I am going to have another show completely dedicated to this topic with Ali Rizvi on the Secular Jihadist podcast. So just look up, I think it's going to be on Wednesday. So just look up Secular Jihadist podcast. We're going to have a live show there that's going to be completely dedicated to this. David in the live chat is saying this attack is a violation of Iraqi sovereignty. Well, we don't know yeah, I mean, it is. Legally, we don't know what the fine print is with regards to what permissions the U.S. military has in Iraq, but technically, yes, it is. David is saying retribution is the only natural reaction. Well, see, both United States government and Iran's government are stuck in this. They're stuck in a game that they both want to get out of, but they both can't get out of, because if United States reacted to something that the Iranian proxy groups did because they couldn't just let go, and now the Iranian government had to react to that, because if they didn't react, they're going to look weak. But they want to escalate things a little bit, but not so much that the other side will go on attack them fully. But then the other side reacts to this a little bit more so that they don't look weak. But they're both hoping that the next time they react, the other guy quits, because both sides don't want this to escalate to a full-out war. So both sides, every time they react, they feel like they're forced to react because they don't want to look weak. But they're also hoping, like, can we just end it here? But they can't say that. You know what I mean? David saying, imagine if the Iraqi government conducted a target killings of Blackwater contractors in the U.S., how would the U.S. respond? Yeah, but again, this was a response to something else. Again, this was a response to something that, again, it's more complicated than that. But I'm not going to continue because it's going to this section is going to get too long. I have a lot more to say, though. But anyways, Ali, what do you think?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions on this, or should I... Shopam, do you have any questions or comments on
this? I want to make a small comment, and I'm not going to drag it out very long. Because like you said, we've already spent a lot of time on this. But one, I hope that you're right. I hope that he doesn't want to go to war here. But with Iran now saying they will retaliate, also with them declining an inspection of their nuclear facilities recently as well, and other things, it puts us in a very uncertain spot. I also personally have not seen Trump's base be against what just happened today, or him wanting to go to war. So I definitely don't want to fall into the fallacy of what we were talking about earlier. All I see is this, therefore this is true. So I would love to see some of his base fighting hard against this.
Well, Well, there's many reactions right now, right? Some people are saying this was the right decision. If Trump is not going to take us to an all-out war, this was like a tactical killing of just one person. Like, it's a good way to, because it's a very strong response without actually going to war. So they're like, this was the best response. Some people are, but some of them are like, why are we even? Some of his base are saying, why are we still even there? Aren't we supposed? Shouldn't? It wasn't the promise that we're going to leave. I've seen that. So there's mixed reactions to this, but
right, and not only that, we just sent in thousands of troops
right
to the area.
So, but both sides, whether the ones that are against this action and the ones that are supporting this action, think that this is not going to. They're saying that this is not going to turn into a war, right? That's what their opinion is, right? So that means that that they don't want Trump to take them to a war, right? Again, I remind people that when Trump decided to actually bomb Assad's bases, like some assets in Syria, in response to one of Assad's gassing of his own people at one point. That was the time that I saw the vast majority of his base just turned on him. That they said Trump they said this was the wrong decision, right? So his base is again, I'm not saying that his base is right or wrong to support Trump, but Trump's base is against intervention, right? Yeah, but again, from all the stuff that Trump has done wrong, this was a more complicated one because I think, so, I mean, there are more simple things to be anti-Trump for, especially for his support of Saudi Arabia for killing civilians in Yemen and causing the world's greatest humanitarian crisis of our time. That is an easy thing to point to be anti-Trump. This was a more complicated thing. Like if you were a leader of a country and your embassy was attacked, and you just be like, okay, that would also be weird. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so Shopam, did you want to add anything?
No.
Okay. Okay, hold on. Oh yeah, this one. Okay, next news.
Next news from Vatican City. Pope says, sorry I lost patience with handshake shaker who yanked me. Okay, so Pope Tuesday night was walking around the Vatican to admire the nativity scene out there. There were cameras on him and people all around trying to wish him a happy new year. He walked a line of well-wishers, shaking hands, holding baby's hand, and a woman, as the article says, violently pulled him. We'll let you guys decide because we're going to play the video. But a woman pulls at his hand. He didn't like it. He says something to her. He slaps her hand. He moves on, and she just looks devastated. So, Armin, are you ready to play that video?
Yeah, let me play the video. Hold on, let me bring up. Let me change the size of the window. Do we need the audio for this?
No, you don't need the audio.
Let me actually just pull it up. It's this lady here. Wow. Did you see the slap? Okay, I'm gonna just this last part. Like this woman is so aggressive. Like he's about to. So the Pope is like shaking everyone's hand, and then he's done with shaking his hands, and this lady was just waiting. She was next, but just when it's her turn, the Pope turns to go away, and she just grabs the Pope's hands and she just pulls it, and the Pope slaps her hand. Ah! Slap. He's so angry. The Pope is like, what are you doing? He slaps her. Honestly, I would probably have the same reaction. Like, what the hell? Right? And he's just like, he's so grumpy. I've never seen this Pope.
You guys need kids when you're working with kids or when you're around kids, you get pulled in every which direction, regardless of what mood you're in, regardless of what you're doing.
Yeah,
So you learn to deal with that a little bit better.
yeah, but
So I don't.
this lady is not a kid, and it's like
No, I understand she's not, but that look on her face, this is the part that gets me. Beej sums it up here. She says, I do think she was being very pushy, but his slaps were very pushy as well. That's the camp I'm in. Both of them overreacted here. But the look on that woman's face, you look at her face and it just looked like she was so desperate to get his blessing, right? And that is part of the danger of religion, that if somebody is so holy and somebody is so uplifted in your life that you think that touching him or having him give you a blessing will change everything for you, that's pretty scary. It's a dangerous mindset to be in, I think.
yeah. The Pope. Have you ever seen the Pope look this grumpy? This Pope is like a smiling Pope.
Never.
Yeah, he's like, his face is so grumpy. Like he's shocked. Like, like what? Slap, slaps. There was 2 slaps. Okay, slap. Okay.
Do you guys know how he justified his slapping the woman? Like
No.
he said that I don't like it when people try to control others' bodies, and that woman was trying to control him, and it's his body, so he gets to decide what he wants to do with his body.
Right. No,
Like that's this. And I was just saying that this kind of arguments are usually go against religion.
Actually,
So
I'm gonna defend both the woman and the Pope in this situation. Again, I don't usually defend the Pope, but I'm gonna defend both of them, right? Because think about it. Like, this lady is watching the Pope coming, and like, she managed to get a front row, right? And she thinks the Pope is like a source of holy, divine, whatever. And she's the next person, right? And she's like, I made it. I'm right in the right spot. And now she's gonna shake my hand, and all that holy magic stuff is gonna get transferred to me. I'm gonna be blessed, right? Like, look at the size of that crowd. Like, it's like, I don't know how many people are there. And she's just in the right spot to be the next person to be blessed. And right before her, he turns. So she might just have this reaction that she had, like, no! Like, she might have just not even thought about it. Like, so she might be like, no! Please, like, no, me, please, bless me as well, right? So she might be like, not be able to control her, given that how overwhelming that situation is. But also the Pope, he's just like, okay, I'm gonna shake these people's hand. Again, I don't defend the Pope often, because this guy is like, he protects child molesters, right? So yes, screw him. But in this situation, he's just like, okay, he might also have a in the moment reaction that he didn't think about, right? Because somebody just yanked his arm off, like, you just pulled his arm, like he's just leaving, and somebody just pulls you. Like, what the? I don't owe, like, you think I owe you a blessing? Like, you think I owe everybody here a blessing? You want me to be here for like another year to be able to bless everybody, and you just pull me like that? You can't just pull somebody. You can't just pull somebody randomly like that. No, like, you can't do that to somebody. So he might just be like, no, get off of me! Like, what the heck? Like, if somebody just did that to me, I might, like, do something that I would regret later, but I might not be able to think. Like, it just might be like my reptilian brain just reacting to something, right? If somebody comes at you that fast, you might just have a fast reaction, right? So I might have a different reaction. I might just, like, turn around and, without knowing, just punch them in the face. I'd be like, oh my God, what did I do? Right? Like, I might not be able to, if somebody just surprises me like that, I might just turn around and punch them without thinking. So again, both of them, I think, just had might have had just a reaction without being able to think about it. So I don't want to blame any of them. I think both of them. Again, I do blame them for other things. I do blame the woman for just thinking any of this magic stuff is important. But that's less blaming I have more blaming for the Pope. But in this situation, I don't think any of them did anything wrong.
I realize it's probably more nuanced, but I've always taken the stance, should men hit women? No, people shouldn't hit people, right? Once she pulled his arm, that was wrong of her to do. But once he got over there, the situation was kind of controlled. She wasn't pulling him anymore, and then he decides to slap her a few times. He was controlled at that point. So it wasn't like a yank on the arm and, his arm is coming around to punch her in the face. That I could probably even understand a little bit more. But this, he realized what had happened to him. Then he started smacking her because he was angry about it. And that's why I think it's wrong. Just people shouldn't hit people. She shouldn't have grabbed him. He shouldn't have smacked her in that situation. But whatever. I'm not really that emotional about it.
But another thing is that the Pope actually did came out and apologize in one of his sermons to a whole crowd. And he said that he lost his patience and people need to have patience and stuff like that. But honestly, I don't think that that's too much of it. But the interesting thing is that if he comes out and says that he made a mistake, isn't that against Catholic doctrine? Isn't the Pope supposed to be infallible?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's Catholic doctrine. The Pope's supposed to be infallible. So the Pope just came out and publicly announced to all the people in front of the, when he comes out of that balcony and he gives a speech, and all the people come out under the balcony and pretend that they're listening, and nobody's paying attention. But he came in that speech. He just came out and said like he lost his patience and he shouldn't have done that. So he technically said that the Pope is not infallible. So he contradicted the Vatican doctrine by saying that, didn't he? I don't know. Somebody that is more knowledgeable
I don't know, because he's taken back a lot of things. Like he's changed a lot of things. So if that were the case, then
changing things could be like Ali, you're not familiar with Christian gymnastics. You could do this. You could be like, well, yeah, we're changing things because that was right for that time, and now this is right for this time. They were both right? So that's how you get around by changing stuff. But what he did now was said that he made a mistake, right?
Armin, I think you're right. I think it is in the Catholic doctrine that the Pope cannot make any errors.
Right. So what is this now? What is this? Well, how do you explain this? Anyways, that's interesting. Okay, so yeah, I want to hear official, because this Pope has said a lot of other things that the Vatican later had to come and said, well, actually, right? So this might be one of those other things that the Pope says something, and the official Vatican people are coming and say, like, well, this is actually what he meant. He didn't mean that. He meant something else.
Somebody let us know. Roberts in the chat is saying, no, the Pope is not always infallible. It's only when he's speaking on doctrine. So if somebody actually knows what this is, let us know.
Interesting. So it has to be about Christian theology and stuff like that. On those things, he's infallible, but he's not infallible in day-to-day behavior.
Because to say that he's infallible would be to say that he's basically Jesus. I mean, no man walking along among the earth is free of sin. So I think that would be a little crazy.
Well, they might say he's only infallible while he was a pope. Like he wasn't infallible when he wasn't a pope.
Those Christian gymnastics. I need to start stretching and get back into that again.
Right. Right. Okay, let's go to the news. The next news.
Next news out of the Netherlands. Dutch anti-Islam politician revives controversial Draw Muhammad cartoon contest. Geert Wilders has started a competition yet again to draw Prophet Muhammad. He says freedom of speech must prevail over violence and Islamic fatwas. He tweeted on Saturday night, and he actually called for his followers to send him in Muhammad cartoons. Then on Sunday morning, he said that the contest had allowed him to point out the importance of freedom of speech. He said, mission accomplished, end of contest, in a tweet that he wrote with a picture of who he claimed was the winner of drawing Muhammad, and it was an angry-looking man with a beard dressed in black.
Wait, so what does it mean here? Like the competition went through. Why are you saying he revived? Oh.
So why I'm saying he revived it is a few years back they tried doing this there in the Netherlands, and it was another politician who tried doing the contest, but the contest was canceled when they received a lot of death threats, and the politician was generally concerned that not just himself but other people were also going to be murdered for being in this competition. So they ended it. Well, he brought it back. This is the first time they've done that since that incident.
I don't know why this is controversial. We need to. I mean, I support this. I don't know if I support everything this guy has said and done. A lot of people say he's a bigot. I haven't looked into everything he said and done, so I don't know if he's a bigot or not. I'm glad that they're using anti-Islam politician in the title. I'm actually surprised that the Independent is not saying Islamophobe like they usually do. Anti-Islam seems pretty fair. I'm anti-Islam. I'm very happy with the anti-Islam label rather than the Islamophobe label, which doesn't make any sense. Yeah, anti-Islam is pretty good. I would wear that as a badge of honor. Yeah, but so the anti-Islam politician revives controversial Draw Muhammad cartoon contest. Well, the fact that it's controversial says a lot about Islam, not about the people that draw Muhammad, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Again, I don't know everything this guy has said and done. So if I support this what he did. I support him bringing it back. This is a good fight for free speech, but if somebody goes and digs up something that he has said that that shows that he's actually a bigot, like, oh, Armin supports this guy, Armin supports a bigot. I'm just supporting this one action. I don't know what else this guy has done and said. I know he has said many things. I know this guy himself is a very controversial politician, but again, this action specifically, I support.
Armin, in our live chat, David Fox is asking a question. He says, why are people so offended about the drawings of Muhammad? There are many drawings of Muhammad in Shiaism.
Well, actually, most of those are not Muhammad. Most of those that people spread around are Ali or Hussein, right? But even those, Ali, Hussein, and even Muhammad, if you look at the drawings of them in Shia Islam, their faces are not shown. I mean, you have to really, go digging deep to find some historical images that their faces are shown, but most of them, their faces are just like either fire, like they're so lit that their faces are on fire, or it's just light coming out of their faces or something like that. It's not like actual faces, right? So they don't draw their faces. Again, Sunnis and Shias don't really see eye to eye on this. Like a lot. Again, this is not all like if I say Sunnis are like this, I'm not saying all Sunnis are like this. But the Sunnis that are very observant, they are against all forms of drawing of any humans or animals, but they're very sensitive about Muhammad. More like if you draw other humans, they're like, oh, that's wrong. But drawing Muhammad is extremely sensitive. But Shias, they draw, they have a tradition of drawing animals and humans in their art a lot. And when they draw their religious figures, like their imams or the prophets, they just don't show their faces. That's what they don't do. I mean, I've never seen, like in Shia countries, a huge reaction over this drawing Muhammad. Like this whole sensitivity over drawing, I mean, I've seen recently, but historically this wasn't this been turned into a sensitive topic to be used as an excuse for reactions that helps you show that you have some level of control in an area where there's no Islamic government. You know what I mean? Like, you could just, for example, let's say I feel like in my household, like in my home, I have less control over what's being done. Like I feel like, let's say as a husband, I feel like my wife and my children, they don't care about me, and my influence in the family has been is very small. So I just pick something. I see like, oh, there's some water, and I just get like get really angry at everybody and be like this, why is this water yellow? Like, just overreact just to show like, look, I have some influence here. Take me seriously, right? So I feel like this whole Dry Muhammad thing in the past 2 decades or so it's been turned into something more. I mean, it's not the only thing, right? This is what the Islamic community does very effectively. They find these things to be triggered by on purpose. Like, it's not that just they are triggered by it. They want to find things to be triggered by it, to exert some level of influence, to show that they have some level of influence, to make demands and exert some power over societies that they live in, right? So again, this is very strategic. And again, it's not strategic because some genius minds came and thought about it and they decided to make this plan. It's just strategies that work survive, right? So it's not like some geniuses came up with this as a very clever strategy. It's just it stays and is used more often because it works. It's kind of like Darwinism of strategies. Anyways, Tony is saying, I draw them most days, sometimes happy prophet, sometimes baby prophet, and he's spelling prophet as in like money, Profit. And then often I put my coffee cup on my napkin. Sometimes I wipe after it. Oh my God. Okay. These people are just trying to be funny. All right. So, do you guys have any comments on this?
Nope.
By the way, this whole idea of, I'm offended, so people should shut up, that needs to backfire. So go draw Muhammad, okay? People draw Muhammad just to show people that these strategies shouldn't work. So that's
many years ago, Armin, we had a Draw Muhammad contest. We should open that back up again.
Yeah, we should open that back up again. Yeah, good idea. Anyways, let's go to the next news.
Next news out of Seattle, Washington, USA. 2,000 unvaccinated kids in Seattle may not be allowed back to class. There was a bill that was passed in Washington that eliminated all religious and philosophical exemptions to the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. So because of this bill that was passed, the bill was passed because there were massive measles outbreaks that led to a public health emergency, right? So parents now have until January 8th to get their kids vaccinated in all the districts in Seattle, okay? If they do not get their kids vaccinated and their kid shows up January 8th, January 9th to school, they'll be immediately placed into a separate room away from all the other children. Their parents will be called to come pick up the kids because the kids cannot attend school without being vaccinated.
Good. I support this. I support way more extreme measures than this. I support, like, even some people that hate anti-vaxxers with passion. I think if they know what my measures against anti-vaxxer parents would be, they would be like, okay, Armin, you're going a bit too far. Honestly, I think that these kids shouldn't just be separated from other kids. These kids should be separated from their parents. That's what I think. Some people think that's extreme. I don't think so. I think if you fail to protect your children from diseases, you do not fit to be a parent. Your kids should be separated from you because you are putting them at harm's way. Again, a lot of people think that's a very extreme measure. I think in any other situation, if a parent was exposing your kid to harm, we would understand that these, child service protections would get involved and be like, yeah, no, you can't be a parent. So why is it that we allow this when it comes to vaccines? But yeah, I mean, this is a good step in the right direction. Is there going to be a big backlash against this or something like that?
I don't know. They said that they used to have 7,000 kids unvaccinated, and once the bill passed, it dropped down to 2,000 kids unvaccinated. What was happening is people were starting to take advantage, obviously, of the religious exemption rule, which led to 7,000 kids being around there unvaccinated, and they have this huge public health emergency, this measles outbreak, and it's not going to get controlled if people are just abusing this rule. So once they passed that bill that eliminated all religious and philosophical exemptions, and I want to point that out, religious and philosophical. So people can't say, it's against any of their belief to get their kid, keep their kid from getting vaccinated. There's no excuse now. So is there going to be a big backlash? I mean, we've got 2,000 kids right now. They're waiting to see if they're going to be joining the school after January 8th. We'll see.
All right. Samantha is a top comment. She's saying, I feel so bad for those kids. The parents are risking the health of their kids and other kids, not to mention not taking their education seriously by having this done already. I was pulled out once for not having all my vaccines. Had just forgot to bring in the paperwork, and I felt so bad about being pulled out of class. Oh wow, they actually do that. They pull you out of class. That's pretty good. Great job. Great job. What is the Seattle? Like Seattle's government? Like mayor, whatever, whoever.
Mhm.
Good job at protecting children. I hope other cities follow your model, right? Did you guys want to add anything?
Nope.
Okay. All right, let's go to the next news.
Oh, I do
Oh.
want to add something really quick. Another godless atheist says, apparently this law also covers homeschooling. So, wow.
What? Okay, that's
I didn't see anything about that. I think that again is great because that doesn't give people the excuse saying, okay, well then I'm going to homeschool my kids so that I don't have to get them vaccinated.
We'll look into that. See, like, let's not say anything
Yeah,
until
we'll definitely look into that. That's wow.
Okay, next news.
Next news out of China. China wants to rewrite the Bible to conform to communist standards. Back in 2017, the president, Xi Jinping, said that all members of China must be firm Marxist atheists. So now, this year, he's taking that logic to the next level, and he's urging religious groups to rewrite their Bibles to fit, not just Bibles, any sacred text, actually, to fit with communist standards or risk them being redacted or removed from any public availability. Okay? This is, a lot of people are criticizing this decision, obviously. It's a very risky decision to do this because people obviously knew what the Bible said before it's about to get rewritten. And that can cause a huge backlash from people who are upset about that. But what he's actually saying, to everybody who criticizes him for this, is that he's not doing this to bring them to a communist standard. What he's doing is he wants these religious texts to be updated so that they fit the requirements of a new era.
Yeah, new era. New era to them means just the Chinese government. By the way, it's not really fair to call China's government communist anymore. It's like they have redefined communism. They redefine everything. They just whatever they are. It's just their thing, and they just redefining. They redefine communism. They're redefining Christianity. What is Chinese government? We have to say Chinese government, not China. But Chinese government is so weird. It seems like another dimension or something like that. Things happening there, like it's movies, stuff. It just seems like fiction. But two comments about this. First of all, Christians outside of China love this. They use these videos that, they have these videos like Bibles being smuggled into China, and these Christians, like, they bring in like bags and they open their bags and they pass the Bibles, and these Chinese people that were waiting for a Bible, they never held the Bible in their hand, and they're getting it and they're crying, and they're showing this in churches, and they're like, look, you don't understand how these Chinese people realize how valuable their Bible is. You guys just have Bibles everywhere. You don't know what you have. These Christians in China, that they look how happy they are that they got their Bible. Look at these poor people. Like, this is how important the Bible is. It just works so great for for Christian propaganda. This victimization of Christians, but at least. Yeah, I give credit to Christians that the Christians, unlike many Muslims, again, hashtag not all, really are bringing attention to this, right? So, again, a lot of Christians are hypocrites because they only care about Christians when they're being victimized. Unlike, for example, us, where we care about Christians, Muslims, atheists when they're all being victimized. But at least they do care about people that are actually being oppressed. Like Christians in China are being oppressed, unlike the Christians in the United States, where they care about Christians only in the United States, which are like they imagine being oppressed because they don't care about Christians that are actually being oppressed in China or in Egypt, for example, right? So I give credit to these Christians that actually bring attention to this. A lot of Christians do. But a lot of Muslims don't bring attention to the fact that 1 million Muslims have been arrested in China and put in concentration camps for the crime of being Muslim, right? Like, where is the outrage in the Muslim community? Again, some places I've seen it, like especially in Turkey, there's a big reaction to this, but that's more of a political calculation because the places where you expect a bigger reaction, there is no reaction. Like, in fact, there's an excuse. They make excuses for China. Like, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia have congratulated China for the way that it deals with terrorism in China. Like, yeah, but like if Israel and United States, yeah, officially, not just like they made a letter and everything out of it, right? Like if United States and Israel do anything to Muslims that is a fraction of what China has done to Muslims, there will be the outrage would be a million times more. Like they are just focused on the United States and Israel as the enemies that they recognize, but China, no, apparently China gets away with everything. Again, hashtag not all. I've seen some Muslims slowly bring more attention to this. In fact, this might work for, again, so Israel is good for anti-Jewish propaganda when it comes to Muslim community. Europe and United States is good for anti-Christian propaganda, even though they don't frame it as anti-Christian anymore because they don't hate Christians as much as they hate the Jews. But atheism is a greater threat to Islam than it has ever been. And the more Muslims start recognizing atheism as a threat, the more they're going to look at China as the boogeyman to warn people about. So I'm hoping, like, hey, Muslims, you look at China, and if you don't care about the Muslims, at least use it strategically against atheism. Like, do anything. Just bring some attention to this. Like, these are, like, what the hell? Like, why is it that you don't see a fraction of the outrage that they have against the United States and Israel, even though what they are doing to Muslims is nothing compared to what China is doing to Muslims. And again, the Muslim community should fear China a lot more than United States and Israel because China is tomorrow's superpower. China and India are tomorrow's superpower. And both China and India are way, 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 way more anti-Muslim than United States is or ever will be. And United States is yesterday's superpower. United States will not remain a superpower. Can you guys hear me?
I reached out to Armin. It doesn't look like.
Hey guys.
Yes.
Are we streaming still? My power got cut. Are we still in the live stream? Do people have my audio?
People are there. The stream hasn't started yet.
Nope, stream is not connected.
How do I bring it back? Maybe if I cut, I should have waited. Tell me if it comes back on.
People are saying it's on. There we go. So looks like we're back.
Are we back?
It's stopped again.
Okay, hold on. It will come back again.
And it's back. It's back again.
Is it back again?
Yep.
Okay, I think we're going to be just on YouTube now. Hold on, let me just double check. Sorry, you know what happened? My power just got cut.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, and it came back on, though. So, are we good now?
Yeah, it looks like we're good. Another godless atheist gave us an update, said I was wrong about homeschooling in Seattle.
Okay, fine. All right, so guys, are we back on? Sorry about the power got cut and everything. I apologize for that. Let's just go to the next news. Good to go. Looks good. Okay, good. Okay, good. We're back. This is great. I can't believe that the power got cut and then came back, and everything is still there. I'm impressed with how YouTube works. Facebook, we lost Facebook, so we're just on YouTube now, I think. Are we on Facebook as well? No, I think we might be as Facebook as well. Hold on, let me just check. Sorry, guys, be patient with me while I'll check if we're on Facebook as well. Okay, let's just go to the next news.
Yeah, no problem. Next news out of New York. Christian man stabs 5 Hasidic Jews as they celebrate Hanukkah. So there's a rabbi who, in his home, they were celebrating on the 7th day of Hanukkah. They were just about ending the session at his home, and people were starting to walk next door to the synagogue when a man steps out of his car on the street, pulls a machete out, and goes up to the door. Witnesses who had already left the home saw him draw the machete and say no one is going anywhere, right? He then began swinging the machete wildly at people in the room. According to witnesses who were also running into the synagogue next door by this point, blood was everywhere. This is one of the most gruesome attacks, they had ever seen or reported. So he kills 5 people. 2 are still currently wounded. If there's an update on that I missed, I do apologize. But as for when this was reported, 2 people were still in critical condition. And they ended up, the people who survived in the home ended up throwing coat rackets, chairs, tables at the guy and chased him out of the home. He then went to the door next door to the synagogue and tried going in the synagogue, but people had already barricaded the door from the inside. Then he got in his car and he took off. Well, the people who chased him out of the house were thinking clearly enough, thank goodness, to write down his license plate, and that's how they gave it to the police. And the police were able to arrest this man, Grafton Thomas. So everyone says clearly this is a terrorism attack. He targeted a group for religious purposes, but his reverend, who claims to be a longtime pastor to this man, says that the attack, while it was terrible, he was certifiably insane, and this is not terrorism, that he didn't mean to target these people. But the law sees it differently. He did mean to target Jews. So they're calling this one of the worst, one of the absolute worst, bloodiest
what religious group he belongs to?
Attacks.
What religious group he belongs to?
He was a Christian.
Oh, okay. And okay, so here's an insane thing that happened after this. A lot of people are blaming this to white supremacy, right? And Ali, tell me what's insane about that?
This man's not white.
He's black, right? But it didn't stop people to blame this on white supremacy. Can you explain to me how that's possible?
Well, if we want to play our Christian gymnastics we were playing earlier, I would imagine that people are still blaming white supremacy for this because white supremacy made this, they marketed this so much to everybody that people are just following suit. So aside from that, from a logical standpoint, I don't know.
So, but by the way, just to be clear to our audience that are joining us now, Ali is not saying this is Christian gymnastics. She's saying just like we played Christian gymnastics.
Earlier.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. But the thing is that a lot of people from the far left, the cult of woke people, I don't know what you want to call them, social justice warriors and stuff, they can't accept something like hate crime like this not to be because of white supremacy, right? So they're finding it very inconvenient that this guy is black, right? So they have to somehow figure out a way to tie this to white supremacy. So they're like, oh, these people, which ends up making them so racist because any white person committing a crime, it seems like they have complete agency over their actions and it was their decisions and they have committed a crime. But if a black person does it, it's not because of their own. They have somehow been under this influence of this whiteness that oozes out of the walls and from the ground and everything, and it's just like takes over black people's minds. And the reason why this is extremely racist is because it kind of suggests like black people don't have any agency over the crimes that they commit. Only white people have agency over and can be held responsible for what they do. So that is interesting. But another thing that is interesting and very controversial to say, but it's a fact, and if it's not, correct me in the comment section, please. But most of the attacks on Jews, in where was this? This was in New York. New York, yeah. Okay, yeah. So in United States, most of the attacks on Jews is happening by black people, right? And I see him showing that the picture face of this guy. But a lot of the times that when it's a white supremacist committing a hate crime, they show the guy's face. But when it's a black person committing a crime, they don't show the guy's face. But I'm surprised that Himmet in the friendly, I'm pleased that like at least he's not hiding what's happening, right? So why is it? Why is it that it's mostly happening by black people? And why is it that even if it's happening by black people, the reports, the woke people that want to be anti-white all the time, they still use these crimes as a way to say, look, the alt-right is coming back, right? And to me, yeah, this is alt-right, right? But I consider Islam to also be alt-right. But when the woke cult, when they say alt-right, they mean white. All right, they mean white supremacy, right? So they don't. They don't say who's doing these crimes, and by not saying that, and by the fact that we know when they say alt-right, they usually mean white. They just say, "Oh, alt-right is rising," because look at the attacks on the Jews. They're trying to even capture these as a way to show like, oh, white supremacy is bigger than it is, right, in the United States. But why is it? Why do you think that a lot of these attacks on Jews are happening by black people? That's a very uncomfortable question, isn't it? That's a very controversial
question, especially because the only thing I'd have to go by is speculation, and I don't like that at all. But if you want me to speculate, I would say it's because a lot of blacks in the United States are raised Christian, deep in Christian roots, and there's a lot of sects of Christianity where they don't like people, Jews, anyone of any other faith. So the closest thing that maybe he had was Jews. He targeted them. I don't know.
My theory is that this guy is an exception. Again, I'm just guessing, so correct me if I'm wrong. But a lot of the crimes by black people against Jews might be from the black Israelites, right? Again, it's hard for people to understand why people that think they're Jews will attack Jews, like people that would consider themselves Israelites. Why are they attacking Jews? Well, because they think that people that are the black Israelites think that they're the real true Jews. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. And they think that the people that are not black that think they're Jews, they're fake Jews. So they attack the Jews that think that they're fake Jews. So I don't know if that could be considered anti-Semitism because it's happening by people that claim to be Jews. So technically they don't hate Jews, but they also hate the real Jews. I don't know. So it's really hard. The words lose their meaning in this instance. But the reason why I think the numbers might be overwhelmingly the hate crimes by black people is not because they're black. It's because the ideology that's coming from the black Israelites. You know what I mean? So this is not it's not a race thing. It just happens that the black Israelites, the toxic ideology of the black Israelites, is poisoning mostly black people. Again, this guy's a Christian, so this guy's an exception. But go on.
It's funny that you bring that up, though, because where I used to live, there was a street corner where every week there'd be guys there saying that the blacks are the real Jews, and they would actually say pretty hateful things about white people and white Jews, and I didn't really know that that was a big thing.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. That's interesting. I did want to point out too that Chris said the defense is trying to claim insanity in this case because they claim this guy is schizophrenic. So this might just be an exception here because this guy is mentally ill.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and again, we don't know. Okay, so if people say like, "Oh no, he's definitely a terrorist," or some people say, "No, he's not. He's not a terrorist because he was insane. And if he's insane, then he's not. He's not a terrorist. He should just be treated." Well, I don't know how these people could know sitting from behind their screen. How would that? How are they deciding if this guy was insane or not? Right. So the correct answer, whether this guy was insane or a terrorist, or a mix of both, because it's possible to be both. Okay. Depending on the type of, and again, insane, people use insane as if it's a catch-all for a lot of other things. A lot of cases of insanity is not even dangerous, right? Some of them are, some of them aren't. But again, it really depends on this guy's case. And again, as people that are not experts, the correct answer is, what is it?
We don't know.
We don't know. Yes. Ding, ding, ding. Good job. All right. Let me see. Black Hebrew Israelites. Let me just read what the short description is. Black Hebrew Israelites are a group of black Americans who believe that they are descendants of ancient Israelites. To varying degree, black Hebrew Israelites adhere to religious beliefs and practice of both Christianity and Judaism. Yeah, again, there's a lot of hate crimes by these people against Jews. But again, it's not because that makes it so that it's the ideology that is poisoning their mind. But because it's black Israelites, it makes it seem like it's the race. The race has nothing to do with it. It's just that this poisonous ideology is targeting a certain kind of race. So again, you have to see correlation is not always causation. There's sometimes an external factor that is making it seem like it's a causation. But in this situation, the race is not a causation. There is a correlation, but it's not a causation. Does that make sense what I'm saying, Ali?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See, I always say something that seems controversial until I explain it, and then people just take the controversial part and they don't include the explanation part, and it makes it seem that I'm saying a lot of things that are very, very, anyways, you know what I mean. Shirpam, did you want to add anything to this?
No.
All right, let's go. Let me see if the people are saying anything. What are you talking about? Okay, Scott didn't understand what I'm saying. So Scott, just go research Black Israelites and hate crimes and their history, and then you will know what I'm saying. I don't want to go through that too much here because that will make this show last forever. All right, let's go to the next news.
Next news, we have an update to this next news that we got yesterday. So I'm going to be reading primarily from that, just so you guys know. In the United Kingdom, a vegan man files discrimination case claiming veganism is a religious belief. That title in itself was kind of misleading, as he wasn't claiming it was a religious belief, more as it was a philosophical belief that deserved the same protection as a religious belief. But as of yesterday, the UK tribunal ruled that ethical veganism actually deserves the same protections as religious belief. So it has been ruled in and of itself now in the UK, ethical veganism deserves the same protection as religious beliefs. This guy, Jordi Casamajana, he says that he was fired from the League Against Cruel Sports because he challenged how his pension fund was being invested by companies that test products on animals. So because he was going, bringing these issues to the HR, he claims that he was fired for causing a stir, and he deserves to be protected from being fired over his ethical vegan beliefs. So the judge ruled specifically that he was entitled to legal protections in British workplaces and that while they haven't yet ruled on the dismissal that's coming soon, they did want to go ahead and rule on this part of his suit. And so, yeah, the Judge Robin Postel, ruled that ethical veganism qualifies as a philosophical belief under the Equality Act of 2010 by satisfying several tests, including that it's worthy of respect in a democratic society, not incompatible with human dignity, and not conflicting with fundamental rights of others.
Hey, so what kind of protections you get for this?
You can't be fired for annoying your place of work, with your vegan questions or concerns.
Wait. Does it have to be annoying, or is it just your beliefs? I mean, I would support this if somebody says like, okay, so you're a vegan. We don't hire vegans here. Sorry. If you get fired for that, then I guess I'll support this case, right? But if it's like, well, you're annoying us every day. We're constantly nonstop harassing everybody about their choices that they make, so we're going to fire you for that. That's not a level of protection you should get. Which one of these two is it? Is it the first one or is it the second one? Do you know what I mean? Like if you just...
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
So there are two parts to his suit. One is that he wanted ethical veganism protected by law. I'm with you on that. I believe that ethical vegans definitely deserve the same protections as somebody who is a Christian or a Muslim. Christian and Muslim can't walk in there and say, hi, I'm a Christian. And they say, oh, we don't hire Christians. Get out of here. I don't think a vegan should walk into a place and say, well, I'm a vegan. And they say, oh, well, we don't want you working here. Get out of here. But now the other part of his suit is that he was challenging his company on how his pension fund was being invested in companies that test products on animals, and he was fired for that. So this part of the claim has not been ruled upon yet, right? So I don't know when he says that he's fired for challenging. How far was he challenging? How much of his workday was spent challenging? How far did he go to challenge this stuff? Right. I don't know. So was he pestering? Was he harassing? And they finally said, "Look, dude, you got to get out. You're not even doing your job anymore." I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, again, like if you say if your boss comes and says, "Oh, you're a Muslim. We don't hire Muslims here," that should be illegal, right? But if you're a Muslim and you can say like, why do we have alcohol in the boardroom? I don't like that. Why do we not have like a prayer section in the office? I don't like that. They're like, okay, get the hell out of here. Like that should be allowed, right? If you just being annoying and making demands based on your personal beliefs, that should be a fireable offense, right? So, and I think like that with any philosophy, I agree with that. If somebody is like, oh, we're firing you because you're a humanist, even though you haven't annoyed anybody here with it, or we're firing you because, I don't know, you're a Satanist, I think all of that should not be allowed. I agree with that, right? You can't just fire people for their, but again, if he's taking it as far as like, I want to be able to lecture people about my beliefs and they can't fire me for it, that is, I think, a step too far. But also, the title is very misleading. By the way, a lot of people keep, when we put these videos out and the title is misleading, a lot of people comment like, oh, the title is misleading. And like, yeah, we mentioned that in the video. You do realize that this is not our title, right? This is Yahoo News, right?
Right.
So people are like, why is this title this? Like, it's Yahoo, it's not our title. We're just commenting on it. And we actually, a lot of times we are, not all the time, but a lot of times we notice that title is misleading. And you, Ali, you do a great job at bringing them up. How could Yahoo News get this so bad? They're saying, like, this is so bad. Like, you guys saying we should get the same protection as religious beliefs, just like any other belief. Why would religious beliefs be getting some protection and other beliefs don't get protection? That seems like religious privilege. If religious beliefs get some protection, other beliefs should also get protection. That seems fair. But if you say like, oh, veganism is a religious belief, like what the hell? No, nobody. That's such an that's such an extraordinary and such a bizarre claim. And if you say somebody said that and they haven't, you completely change their entire point. And Yahoo News just did that. That's weird, isn't it? Like, Did they do that on purpose? I don't know.
I think they absolutely did that on purpose because it's so absurd. People are like, what? And they stop and they click on it to read it, only to find out, even in their article, they specifically outline. Now to let you guys know, the update was given to me by David McGaffey. So that's what I'm going by here. But this original article that we posted in Yahoo, they even claim in there that he's not saying it's a religious belief. He's saying it's a philosophical belief that deserves the same protection as religious belief. So there's a huge difference, and I think that they did that on purpose.
So Michael in the top comment, he's saying, as can already be seen in the comments, a lot of vegans act like religious people, claiming their belief is the right one and claiming the moral high ground. They are still missing temples, but just wait. Okay, I'm not a vegan, and I have a lot of arguments against vegans, but this is not a fair critique of vegans because, like first of all, say, as you can see in the comments, a lot of vegans act like religious people. Okay, so how do they act like religious people? Claiming their belief is the right one. Michael, who doesn't say that their belief is the right one? Like, what are you talking about? If you didn't think your belief is the right one, it wouldn't be your belief. It wouldn't be your belief. Everybody thinks their beliefs are the right one because if they didn't think that, they would change their belief. That's the definition of believing something. What the hell? Okay. That's a very weird critique by Michael. But also, just if you find a certain group of people annoying, or if you think like certain actions that they're doing is like gives you or resemble what religious people do, that doesn't mean what they believe in is a religion, okay? Religion has to have two elements. I think the best definitions I have seen for religion it was this professor I took a class from, and it was very simple. It's just two elements need to be there for something to be religion. The two essential elements: belief in the supernatural and rituals. If something is rituals and doesn't have supernatural beliefs in it, it's not a religion. If something has supernatural belief but doesn't have like very sophisticated rituals around it, it's not a religion. Okay, no matter how there are dogmas that are not religions, right? All religions are dogma, but not all dogmas are religion. There are so many rituals that are not religion. There's so many, just going around and calling things religion when they're not religion is not a very effective. It just makes the word lose its meaning and makes things confusing, communication confusing, right? Okay, did you guys want to add anything to this?
Nope.
No? Okay. Let's go to the last news.
Last news is an update from some news that we shared earlier out of Brazil. Creators of Gay Jesus Netflix special bombed in Christmas Eve terrorist attack. So again, this title is a bit misleading as the creators were not bombed. However, the company that they work in was bombed because the people who were bombing them were hoping that the creators were in there, but they were not. Everybody was safe from the bombing. This happened at the Porta dos Fundos, the production company behind Netflix, behind the Netflix satire, the one that we were talking about, The First Temptation of Christ. I don't know, just for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about. Netflix has a show from Brazil, The First Temptation of Christ, where Jesus is gay and he's got a lover named Orlando. And it blew a huge backlash. People were very angry, demanding that everyone they know cancel their Netflix subscription, demanding Netflix remove the show. Netflix didn't budge on it. And so because Netflix didn't budge, because it still continues to be aired, people decided it'd be a great idea on Christmas Eve to go and bomb them. Luckily, nobody was hurt. There was a Molotov cocktail thrown in through the window, and then 2 bombs went off after that. So they released a statement following the incident, the creators of The First Temptation of Christ, saying that the bombers endangered several innocent lives of staffers and civilians on the street, but also that they are going to be working harder now to uphold freedom of speech and bring good comedy to the rest of the world.
These people are so brave, right? They must have known the backlash in Brazil would have been huge to have gay Jesus. Like, Brazil is a very Catholic country, right? So these
Yeah.
people are amazing, especially Brazil is getting even more right wing, Christian right wing these days. So going out and fighting for free speech in such an environment, these people deserve a lot of respect. And also all these triggered, sensitive Christians, I don't know if they understand how much they're promoting this show. This show would have not get that much of attention that it's getting if it wasn't because of this huge reaction. Like even before these bomb attacks, the reaction was like in Brazil, it has been huge. Like these people have been attacked by half of their country right now, right? So,
Right.
but there's a lot of people outside of Brazil, all around the world, are going to now watch it because they're hearing about it on the news all the time, right? So these idiots are basically making this show, become more and more popular. But again, it's not worth it. The cost to the safety of these poor people that made this. Another comment I have is, I wonder if Netflix so greenlighted this, like, okay, gay Jesus, okay, go ahead. I wonder if Netflix would ever greenlight a show about gay Muhammad. Right? I want to see that show. I wonder if Netflix would look such a hypocrite if somebody goes and pitch a show about gay Muhammad. If they say no, like, you said yes to gay Jesus, why not gay Muhammad? And I wonder if anybody would be so brave to make that show on Netflix. Like, imagine the risk that they would be taking to their lives, right?
You know what? In this show, I saw this show on Christmas night because of all the news.
You watched it? Was it good?
Yeah, because it was getting so popular, I watched it on Christmas night, and it's good. It's a 46-minute movie, and it's good. And they almost showed Allah in the show.
Oh yeah, I saw that scene. Like all the Jesus is okay. Spoiler alerts, right? There's a scene where Jesus is so high, and he sees all these other gods coming, like Hindu gods, Buddha, and other coming and telling him like, "Don't worry, we went through the same thing. You're gonna be okay." And this is how you deal with the situation. And they're giving him advice. And Allah was about to be there. They're like, "Oh, Allah is there," and he's not there. Like I didn't show Allah.
They said that, oh, Allah is a bit shy, so he just went off.
That was the best part of the show. But yeah, go watch it to support the show. Here's another thing. I bet you a lot of anti-Christian atheists, if they hear about the story, they're going to be like, oh, look, we have Christians are terrorists too. Christians are bombing. It's not just Muslims, right? Because a lot of anti-Christian atheists, ex-Christian atheists, they're jealous of ex-Muslim atheists because they're like, why can't we have more Christian terrorists so we could like be as aggressively, like we don't, because a lot of people don't like it that the religion that victimized them or oppressed them is not the worst thing in the world. Like they're like, oh, Islam is the worst religion. They're like, no, my religion that oppressed me and victimized me is just as bad. How dare you say there's another religion that oppresses people more, right? So like, look at all these terrorist attacks, all these beheadings that Islam does, all these. No, Republicans, if they were in power, they would do the same thing to gay people as Saudi Arabia does. No, they wouldn't. Come on, right? Yeah, they're bad, but they're not. They would never be that bad, okay? But they're just like, no, they would if they just had the power. But they just want to, when your career is based on being the victim, you can't just be a victim. You have to be the greatest victim, right? So this attack, they're going to be, if they see, I bet you there are going to be some people like, look, it's not just the Muslims that are terrorists. Christians can be terrorists too. Look, they're bombing stuff too. Christians are just as bad, okay? Please, okay? Christians are bad as Muslims, okay? I bet you they're going to see some of that. All right, so, but again, obviously that's insane because, yes, Christians have done bombings of, abortion clinics, and now we have this, but there are, for every 1,000 Islamic terrorist attack, you're going to find one Christian terrorist attack. Again, I'm not defending Christianity. These are just facts. These are just statistics. You can't deny facts, okay? The top comment is too long, so I'm going to just read the second top comment by Alan. It says, quote in quotes says God can do anything. He's great. Through him alone, he can make your dreams come true. Same person, in quotation. Here I go firebombing an entertainment office for God. So Alan is actually pointing to the hypocrisy of religious people saying God can do anything, while at the same time needing you to go bomb a Netflix show for God. All right.
Right.
Fair point by Alan. And that was our last news. Sorry we got cut.
By the way,
Yeah, go.
yeah. By the way, we have another super chat from Angel Rose,
Oh!
and we also had a super chat from Chris earlier.
Oh, why is this new super chat not showing in the feed? That's why the live feed is not showing, because we got cut and it came back on. I was wondering why the live.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the live chat after we came back wasn't showing. Okay, that's sad. I wish I knew so I could
Well,
have.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And sorry guys that your live after the power got cut and we came back, your comments wasn't showing on the screen. I didn't notice that. Okay, and then again, sorry the power went out. I'm in a third world country right now, so sometimes the power goes out. It only happens like once in a month, so it's or twice a month. So it's very weird that it just happened right while I was doing a show. I might have to buy you know what? Please support us so I could buy a generator for our house. So if the power goes out, the show doesn't go.
I mean, you already know it happened to me before.
Yes, guys, please. I can't afford these things myself. Support the show, become a patron, and one of the things I will invest money in is a generator so that this thing doesn't happen if a power gets cut in the middle of the show. Support us. All the links are in the description. You could support us on Patreon or on PayPal or on Subscribe Star, and there's also a mailing address where you could just mail stuff to us. Okay. Anyways, love you guys. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for sticking with us even after the power got cut. You guys didn't go away. So love you for sticking by, and thank you for your comments. Sorry if we missed any of them that we should have noticed, and see you guys again next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.